Limbus Company.
Limcom.
A free-to-play gacha game that can be described as Chainsaw Man meeting Darkest Dungeon. A technologically advanced corporate world made by the exploitation of essentially primordial magic that no one fully understands but uses. A world that has death at every corner, either by monster, fellow man, or swimming pool. Limbus in Latin means edge or border, but to most it's a pretentious way of saying limbo, the edge of hell. As to why limbo? Well, the shit we're seeing on this divine comedy is worthy of being in hell, but unfortunately is a part of the world of the living. Our main protagonist, Dante, not that one, is the manager of 12 sinners, who are all characters of their own literature book, and are the only company we will have in this divine gacha hell. Guided by Virgil, not that one, we undertake a bus ride on this grimdark corpo SCP adventure to hunt down for the Golden Bows. Limp Bizkit is the third game of developer studio Project Moon, and follows the events after the first two, Lobotomy Corporation and Library of Ruina. It's chronologically the third entry, yet doesn't fully rely on you being along for the ride since the start. Most of the ensemble is new, yet reference major events of previous games. If you're fine with being born out at the start of human history, then you'll do fine starting with this entry. As it starts with an amnesiac who doesn't know how the world works, nor why he has a clock for a head, nor why he can rewind the state of sinners before their deaths. We do. Gameplay-wise, that is. We can't allow our gacha units to permanently die, so it's a neat narrative being built with the main explanation of why in a gruesome world we're inexperienced and alive. It also allows oppositional forces to feel like a threat if we're the jobbers to the jobbers of the city. Case in point, in the tutorial where we get overwhelmed with new game mechanics, we're scripted to fail. Our team dies and Dante signs up for a company under duress. Limbus Company. Thus our bus tour starts. Unlike most other gachas with dozens of characters, we only get 1 dozen, 12 that is. The way the gacha works is instead of getting the characters we meet along the way for our team, we get alternative history version IDs of our established few, where they take the place of the characters we meet, meaning the sinners cosplay and LARP as the other characters or take generic posts of a faction. Thus we get the most interaction from our Devil's Dozen, which includes Dante from the Divine Comedy series, Gregor from Metamorphosis, Rodion from Dostoevsky's Crime and Punishment, Sinclair, Damien, Yisang the Korean author, Ishmael from Moby Dick, Wuthering Heights protagonist Heathcliff, Don Quixote, China's literature representation Hong Lu, Japan's Buddhist hell painter Yoshihide, Meursault the Stranger, Nobody, responsible for blinding a Cyclops in the Odyssey, and Faust. As you might have noticed, half the cast is women and all of them are gender swapped from their literary works, kinda like Type Moon does with historical figures in Fate. They are sort of at the middle to end of their literature-inspired journey, so it's half a character study, half a cheap way to create compelling characters, each seeking some sort of closure to their past, and with a tighter cast means the game's story can explore each sinner one by one, which it does. After the introduction, we're tasked to retrieve a golden bow from an abandoned Lobotomy Corporation's branch. Along the way, we establish our company's moral compass, as we need a little bit of fuel for our bus. While we're at it, our sinners get a bit too comfortable in dying as they start lethally bickering amongst each other, with the only 2 preventative measures being Virgilius and combat against the poor. We now know how morally black the world of the game is, as we're part of it rather than getting a power fantasy against evil type of story. The main story progression is done in bite-sized segments not too dissimilar to other mobile games. Where it does is in the final node being a dungeon crawler, where it takes up about half the time needed to complete the entire chapter. The first chapter deals with Gregor, Kafka's Metamorphosis protagonist, the one who changed into a bug one day. In Project Moon's world, Gregor is a war veteran who deserted. During a most important to the lore war, his city district decided to biologically enhance its denizens with bug augmentations. Gregor, being the most responded, got the least intrusive version, where only his arm changed. Being used as a symbol for propaganda for the faction and having no one to be a part of the war, he fled. Now he deals with the guilt of having no choice in his life, yet having regret of being the lucky one. As we approach the Golden MacGuffin, Gregor's past comrades appear to have taken refuge in the abandoned facility. As such, we fight them while Greg is trying to contain composure. As we descend the halls of the abandoned Lobotomy Corporation, we get to meet abnormalities. This is as best of a time as ever to explain the combat. Each character has 3 skills. The first skill is the weakest and 3 times as much to show up on your screen. The second skill is 2 times more likely to show up compared to the third, and of course, the third being the most powerful. generally. You get a choice between 2 skills every turn, the one you don't use stays. At any moment, you can replace the bottom skill with a defense skill. Each skill has a different amount of coins associated with it. When a skill is used, every coin gets flipped, and by default has a 50-50 chance of being heads or tails. Generally, heads add to the final number, consisting of a base number plus however much a coin flip gives. When your sinner and an enemy go against each other, a clash happens. Each character flips their coins, and whoever gets a larger number removes a coin from the other. The clash continues until one of you loses all coins. Then, however much coins the winner has left gets rolled into the attack. When winning clashes, human characters increase their sanity. Sanity indicates a percent addition to further coin flips. Sanity ranges from -45 to 45, meaning at maximum sanity your characters roll heads at a 95% chance.
Really, nigga? What's the number?
전열을 지켜라! 관심이 쏠렸으나 너희가 공격할 기회는 더욱 많아진다! 나는 이스마엘이다!
제가 결정할 일은 아니지만 배를 돌리는 편이 나아 보이는데
너무 못 만나섰나? 미련
뭐 제가 결정.
Generally, you can depend on the word being used to indicate if you're going to win a clash. Dominating is safe, favored is good, neutral and below is a gamble. Furthermore, skills are indicated by color of their sin affinity. While there's way more to sin affinity, the biggest use is when a skill is used, you get one resource of that sin, and when you have enough, you can use egos. Egos are kinda like ultimate abilities that you also get from the gacha. Just as your sinners get IDs from established characters, egos are ultimate abilities from established abnormalities. Egos use sin affinity resources and sanity. They can be used whenever available and most of the time when your regular skills can't win their clash. Though if you use them too often, your sanity will get too low to start winning clashes. Besides the ones you begin with, egos have corrosive versions that get activated on low sanity, targeting indiscriminately. You can also activate those manually if needed. At certain health point thresholds, you and the enemy have lines indicating when a character or abnormality body part gets staggered. Once staggered, the character in question receives double damage and loses its next turn.
Yeah! What?
There are 2 types of combat, regular and focused. On regular, you can't choose your targets, you just chain skills. On focused, you have to select skill to enemy skill. Most boss battles and abnormality battles are focused. Depending on what skill you're targeting upon winning a clash, you deal damage to that targeted area as well. Some parts can be broken, most can be staggered. But just because a part is staggered doesn't mean the entire enemy is. From time to time, an abnormality might have an event. Depending on it, it might be as simple as a skill check. Other times you choose the correct answer. How to deal with abnormalities becomes a memorization thing. And those are the basics. Suffice it to say, there's a lot of mechanics intermingled. Lots of status effects that still confuse me. For the beginning of the game, just hit the win rate button and let the game do all the heavy lifting for you. Until it can't. You'll need to put into practice those reading skills. It will feel like playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Without knowing what any of your opponent's cards do. But until that time comes, just getting accustomed to what numbers indicate what is good enough. After some trials and tribulations, the finale of every chapter becomes more impressionistic as we delve into the psyche of that chapter's sinner. For Gregor, it's experiencing the war he fled and having to do with apples. After the tribulation, we get introduced to the main antagonist of our story, as they remind us that we won, but not hard enough. Returning empty-handed, and after witnessing hell on earth, at least for one of the sinners, every chapter ends with their respective sinner singing the ending theme. And I really got to say this, but damn, we're a bunch of losers. We failed the tutorial, we kill each other, and as Virgilius informs us, this was the easiest golden bow we could have gotten. And I haven't even spoiled you on everything that went down this chapter. This has got to be the best way of conveying how much of a failure this group of people are, how bottom of the barrel we are, how much room for improvement there is, which of course is a compelling narrative hook. Though the next chapter kinda drops the ball as it tries to be more uplifting to give more contrast to the depressing and edgy parts of the game, making the sinners feel like the One Piece cast. My favorite part of the story, though, would be Chapter 4, is how it conveys a certain keyframe of winning against depression and having the attitude of moving forward. Don't think there has been a piece of media that properly convinced me of a character really moving forward as much as Limbus Company.
달린 당연하게도 너의 것이겠지. 그럼 이제 땅을 박차고 날개짓 해봐. 그저
Either it will resonate with you, in which case you should experience it for yourself, or it won't, and I should continue with the video. The storytelling isn't perfect. In fact, sometimes it's hard to understand the motivations of our cast. Sometimes it's related to the events of previous games, other times it's too reliant on their respective literature. Some side characters die comically, other times without any reaction, other times we're informed 2 chapters afterwards that they lived. It's a really bumpy ride, but I've accepted it as the 10 out of 10 moments are worth going through the 5 out of 10 ones. Also, sometimes it feels like the game is trying to focus on only world building as there's concepts shown without much payoff, like what we're experiencing is still a prelude to a future game. As of making this video, there's currently 4 chapters out. A new chapter comes with a turn of a new season, which is time for me to explain the live service side of the game. Oh yes, there's a battle pass, but don't despair, they last for about 4 months. So far, they start as a new story chapter gets released. Besides the usual upgrade materials, they come with characters' voiced lines that show up during battle, some cosmetics for your friends list, a count ticket, and egos. Half of them, including egos, come in the free battle pass, the other half are behind a paywall. Until the next season, that is. For you see, unlike most other gacha games, this one comes with a generic dispensary where you can buy gacha IDs and egos. You need shards, which you get from getting duplicates from the gacha, or open crates and select which shards you need. As of yet, everything can be gotten in this matter, and the best part, the crates are the excess item on the battle pass, after getting the main rewards. The daily tasks might make it seem like it's slow to progress, but that's because the main way to do it is through mirror dungeons. Those dungeon crawler segments in story were just the beginning. Now the game gives you a weekly gacha currency activity, which rewards not only that, but progress on the battle pass as well. How much? Enough. Though the big payouts are limited by week, there is only time stopping you from grinding the shards. I wouldn't recommend overcommitting, especially if you're doing it as a free-to-play. The final rewards are only 1/3 in that case. But I've done it, and I'm here to inform you that it's possible. The only exception to exist of this system are Walpurgis Nights, which are collab extractions. Collabs that are only with Lobotomy Corporation and Library of Ruina. I swear on these moon companies. They limit the time to exchange shards when they're happening, and you can only exchange for the previous Walpurgis Nights IDs and egos, not the currently new ones. Though even playing casually, I have enough crates to shard 3 IDs or egos this season, so limiting yourself to only exchange for the best ones is viable. You don't need everything. The game mode itself is partially a roguelike. You have your selection of battles, shops, abnormality events. You only get to heal your team in shops, or if you got the appropriate abnormality items from the run. So it's a bit of fun on its own in the beginning. There's an overall currency system to upgrade the mirror dungeons to make them easier. It all resets every season, and Project Moon has mentioned the mirror dungeons changing somewhat every season as well, so I can't fully comment how it works without it getting outdated. But you get to battle some past railway bosses at the very least. Railways are your challenge events of Limbus Company. One appears every season, their overall mechanics change, but for the most part it's a boss rush type of game mode. They're properly challenging and require your full attention, as the most prestigious rewards are gotten if they're done within a set turn limit. Friend list bragging rights. You can show off how many turns it took for you to complete them. You also get guaranteed ID tickets, but any form of customization is always the endgame of any game. The only other major thing to mention is story events. They're more thematically manic than depressing, and if you do them within the few weeks after their release, you get your grind event type of rewards, but for the most part, they are available without any fear of missing out afterwards. And that's Limbus Company for you. There are other minor things to like about this game, such as egos being removed from the gacha pool once gotten, or how Project Moon is comfortable without giving a tutorial to the microtransactions page. It took me a few days to even find it. What I'd like from the game going forward is to not become too overly obtuse in its gameplay text. I'm already having a hard time reading some of it, though that could be part of the charm. Thematically wise, I think Limbus Company is at two extremes of overly serious and edgy, or goofy and manic. It's weird to ask of this, but it needs some downtime. There needs to be some sense of day-to-day life shown of regular people without the gruesome endings of their life. This setting isn't our world, plus it's established most of humanity is located in this megacity. So it's either what we are seeing is on the extreme end, or I'm left to believe this is normal everywhere, in which case I start wondering how is the population of this city sustainable. It's unbelievable our cast will ever have a chance of a quiet life if there's no example of it from anyone. I like this game. It's the most friendly gacha game around. Even now, as I'm looking at my mediocre battle pass progress, I'm seeing I have enough crates to get any unit I desire for a price of 11 euros. Compare that to 30 euros for a 10 pull from other gachas. This is huge. Albeit it's depressing to hear myself say that. So if you want to support the extended Ham Ham Pang Pang sandwich universe, try Limbus Company. And if you feel like spending, remember there are 2 other games in this franchise for you to check out. That's all. Bye bye.